Hi, welcome to Antiques Down Under, our television program on antiques and collectibles.
We're searching for incredible collections, priceless rarities and curious artefacts. And along the way, we'll meet some people with the most unbelievable treasures.
This week on Antiques Down Under, Carrick Hill, a unique glimpse into the glamour and lifestyle of years gone by.
Claudia comes out of the closet of fashion.
Gregory learns about the art of textile conservation.
Claudia takes a look at a special generation of photographers, Max Dupain and friends.
Claudia, I brought you to this beautiful historic building here in South Australia called Carrick Hill.
Honestly, I have never seen anything so gorgeous in Australia. So who owned Carrick
The
Hill?
Hayward family, and the Haywoods were absolutely wonderful people. They brought the Christmas pageant to Adelaide. They bequested this to the people of South Australia. And we're about to be told the story. I think we should get the house manager to join us.
Oh, here comes Alonka now.
Welcome to Carrick Hill.
Thank you.
Would you like to follow me and I'll show
We'd
you
love
around?
to. Let's go have a look. I'm wondering what it's like. Ursula getting ready for a night out. We're in her original 1930s bathroom. She's had a shower, love the Art Deco fish, and here's her Bakelite hairdryer. Now, what's a girl to wear? Oh, now that's what I'm talking about. That's the dress for a night out. Christian Dior?
Yes, of course, 1953.
Ah, perfect, because the new look was introduced 1947. This is a later look.
That's correct, yes. It's fabulous because Ursula was a client, a regular client, and of course she also has her client number sewn into the top of the dress. It is just stunning, the perfect little black dress.
Doesn't every girl need a little black dress?
Gregory, let me tell you about this wonderful staircase.
Please do.
So it's was known as the Waterloo staircase at Beaudesert, which is the house in Staffordshire that the Haywoods attended, which was being demolished. They bought all of the stairs, so it's total in entirety, so over for 3 floors worth of stairs. And then they had this wonderful imperial style of staircase created at Carrick Hill. They also bought panelling, fireplaces, windows, the stables, all came from this one demolition sale.
It's recycling, isn't
Absolutely.
it? In the 1930s, who'd believe it? Marvellous.
Yes, definitely. They were ahead of their time.
Ilonka, we're in this lovely dining room here, all this oak panelling with its secret cocktail cabinet. But imagine sitting here at the end of the table discussing and planning the John Martin's Christmas pageant.
Yes, it would have been amazing. Of course, the planning would have happened well before Carrick Hill was built. However, it's a tradition that carries on, and as a special treat, we still have the gold whistle that starts off events every year, even sadly nowadays that we don't have John Martins amongst us anymore. And I believe that you were in a Christmas pageant one time, Gregory.
Yes, I was. The tradition was that all the staff members partook in the
Yes, that's right.
Christmas pageant,
Yes.
and every department was allocated a different float. And I was an elf. Can you imagine me being dressed as an elf?
Well, I'm sure,
Dancing down the street?
I'm sure you were a very resplendent elf.
We're in the beautiful drawing room of Carrick Hill with its unique architecture and its concealed lighting. But we've got this beautiful painting here, this Gauguin. What can you tell us about it?
It was of the time when he was based in Tahiti. It's called The Big Tree, and it's dated to 1894. The Haywoods collected quite a number of his works, as well as other artists, of course. We have a very large collection of French, English and Australian art in our collection, but probably, perhaps arguably, this is the jewel in the crown in our collection.
I'm here with a very glamorous team from Carrick Hill, and I've got a special item here that I hope will confound them. I wonder, what is it? What do you think this is? That moves around.
Yeah, so the way that it moves makes me think that it's some sort of vice.
A vice? Well, that sounds dangerous. What do you think?
My guess is that it's a nutcracker. I reckon you could fit a nut in that little space nicely.
And then squash it down.
That's right.
Okay. What do you think?
It looks like it's made of silver and perhaps something from the kitchen, like maybe for a boiled egg, it would fit nicely in that space.
So the googie sits in there.
And you wind it up a little bit.
Okay.
Is it quite heavy?
It's not too bad. I've got it in one hand there. Yep. But it's sturdy.
I think maybe something to do with spices and grinding spices, perhaps.
Okay. So we've got grinding spices, an egg, a nutcracker, and a vice. What is it?
Do you want to guess the mystery object? Head to our Facebook and Instagram pages to enter.
Charlotte Smith wears a lot of hats. She's an author, she's a collector, she's a globe-trotting fashion anthropologist, and she's been the custodian of a vast collection of vintage fashion dating back to the 1700s. But today, I want to jump into Charlotte's wardrobe.
Welcome.
Thanks for letting me in.
Welcome to my wardrobe. Yeah, I mean, where do we start?
I know. Well, you've got collections dating from when to when?
Late 1700s to literally off the catwalk. What's exciting about it is that it does tell the story of women's history, social history, and the journey we've gone through, and by, what we've done, who we are, by what we wear. So this is Anjilla Seddeqi. She's a young emerging designer here in Australia. She's an Afghan refugee and now Australian citizen. And her design ethos is all about modest wear, being a Muslim, but wanting to introduce Muslim wear and modesty to Western women.
It's like the toiles from the 1700s.
Yeah, exactly. It is. Yeah, no, exactly right. So this is beautiful. So this is exciting to see a designer who is creating her own look, but very much inspired by the glamour of the 1950s.
And also with honouring her own culture.
This is Dolce and Gabbana.
Look at this embroidered applique.
And what's great is that there's this reference to Victoriana with the idea that you do have that applique. And, for me, when I collect for my collection, as well as what I keep myself, it's all about referencing, whether it's referencing the past, whether it's multiculturalism, whether it's something that is design technology that I don't feel is too modern for me, but something I can talk about, because I love wearing clothing that people ask me about. And this designer, her name is Mrs. Ming Hang. She's the only couturier in Vietnam. And what's so special about her is that she takes traditional garment styles, traditional to Vietnam, and then uses local handicraft workers to recreate in a more modern way traditional motifs.
Now, I do love this fantastic print. It is wonderful.
It's by an American designer called Anne Fogarty. And what's great about Anne Fogarty was that in the 50s, it was all about dressing the perfect domestic goddess, wife, woman. And, all the rules and regulations of what to do and what not to do with your gloves and your handbag and whatever. Well, she went with the times and realized that women didn't want to be domestic goddesses in the 60s and created a dress like this.
Charlotte, I spy the most incredible leather garment. Now, I have a lot of leather in my wardrobe, and I have to say, it does get mouldy and mildewy.
Does it?
Yeah. It does.
I mean, like I always say is, if you have good ventilation in your wardrobe, it shouldn't get moldy.
The reason there's no ventilation is they've got so many garments, they're all packed in together.
So this one is Miu Miu, and it's a metallicized leather, wonderful on the inside, and then it's been appliqued. This one, I do have a garment bag on this one, just because like this 1930s little cape, the more you touch the metallic bits, whether it's leather, metallicized leather, or a brocaded fabric, it will eventually tarnish. And one day you're going to find that you've put hand cream on or perfume, and you suddenly touch your piece and there'll be a thumbprint. I mean, you just have to be super careful and just, realize that these clothes are not made for, just everyday kind of usage. And when you do wear them, that you really consider everything every time you touch them. So this is a little sneak peek, but when you have 4,000 dresses, what do you choose? So interesting that this is the selection that I've chosen to keep in my own private wardrobe.
This week, Antiques Down Under visits the Art Lab in Adelaide, the conservation hub of fabrics, artworks, books. And today I'm with Kristen, and Kristen is going to tell us a little about this item. Now, this item was brought into my shop by a gentleman, and we thought all along it was a napkin, but Kristen has got another view. So let's hear what Kristen has to say.
Well, Greg, my theory is actually a souvenir. I've seen numbers of them over the years, and say it's the first night of a play or a special meal, you'll often see them sometimes a menu printed. In this case, what a fabulous, it's a song. And so I think they've done it to commemorate the occasion, which obviously the Duke of Edinburgh was there. It was very exciting. So they print one and they give to everyone that came as a souvenir. It's like a party bag for grown-ups in a way. Yes, so that they remember the night.
What a party bag. Now we're going to cross over to Victoria, and Victoria is going to give us some conservation ideas on how we should look after this. And just think at home, you may have textiles at home that have been handed down through your family. You might want to have them restored.
So this is a silk item, which is something we see quite a lot in textiles conservation. Silk is a historic material and it was used very commonly. It also can be quite a problematic material because over time it does go through some natural degradation processes, which can be accelerated by the way you store it, by the way you display it, things like that. So this one we can see it has been stored possibly in an acidic environment. So we've got some overall discoloration and some localised staining. You can also see it's probably been folded and the strain on the fibres there has led to it tearing in half, and you lose some of the text in that. So that's something that we would work in the conservation lab to try to reintegrate and bring the pieces back together. When you're storing your own silks at home, it's really important that you keep them in non-acidic materials so that things like this don't happen. Another good thing to do is keep them away from light, because that's another thing that can accelerate any degradation in silk. If you have three-dimensional silk items, another good idea is to try and keep them as three-dimensional as possible. So in contrast to this, which is a flat item, you would keep three-dimensional things padded where they need to so that creases don't form and you don't get that sort of tearing on the fibre. If we were to conserve this, what we would probably do is put a lining or some kind of adhesive material that would help bring these pieces together, and we would also just mount it for display on a non-acidic board.
Maybe it's time for you to think about conservation of your family's historical treasures.
Three greats of Australian 20th century photography: Max Dupain, Olive Cotton, David Moore. All three were crazy for photography as kids. In fact, Max and Olive were childhood friends who used to tear around Newport Beach in Sydney in their holidays taking photographs, and they were briefly married. David Moore joined Max Dupain's studio as an enthusiastic young photographer and went on to become one of Australia's great photojournalists. I want to share some of their work with you that lives in our collection. If I asked you to name an Australian photographer, most people would probably say Max Dupain, known for his photographs of architecture, landscapes and Australian lifestyle. The ultimate Australian lifestyle photograph, the Sunbaker, probably Australia's most famous picture. The ironic thing is, the Sunbaker was actually an Englishman named Harold Salvage, a mate of Max's who was in the surf and plonked down on the sand, and that was the photograph. Now, Sunbaker recently went up for auction, $100,000 for that one. This is the reason Sunbaker is not in our collection. But what we do have from Max Dupain is Rush Hour in King's Cross, 1938. So Max is up here on the corner, looking down on the intersection that a lot of people will recognise as what we call today the top of the cross. We've got the eastern suburbs trams hurtling around the corner, a beautiful example of the vibrance of Sydney in the 1930s. Olive Cotton is one of Australia's most important modernist photographers, and this is her most famous image, Teacup Ballet from 1935. The story goes that Olive went to Woolworths to buy some new cups and saucers for the studio, and she brought them back, positioned them, and they suggested to her dancers on a stage with their arms akimbo, hands on hips. It wasn't quite working until she put a spotlight behind, creating these dramatic long shadows. 2 years later, in 1937, Olive Cotton created this image, Glasses. Now this was an ad for a pair of spectacles, but again she took the spotlight and put it behind the glasses, creating these dramatic shadows, turning something very simple into something really quite wonderful. Then we come to David Moore, who was regarded as Australia's most influential photojournalist of the 20th century. And this is his best known image. This is Sisters of Charity, Washington DC, 1956. David Moore was on assignment to shoot the Washington National Airport, and he was there and he saw a group of 20 nuns, and he thought, there's a photograph in this, but how to shoot it? So he raced up to the mezzanine and looked down on the nuns with their wonderful wimple headpieces. And this was the photograph. He took 7 frames. The first 3 were double exposures, the last 4 were perfect. But this is the one that he chose. The perfect curve of the nuns mimicking the curves and lines on the ground. And this one was selected for what he called its humanity, the nuns' graceful, delicate little hands. When I was studying photography, David Moore was an absolute hero of mine. So when I got to meet him, I was starstruck like a silly little schoolgirl. This photograph, Sydney Harbour Bridge 2 from 1947, is a Sydney classic. Now it's the second frame in the series because the first, Sydney Harbour Bridge, had a damaged negative. So this is the one that's now available. And lucky for this starstruck David Moore fan, it's been inscribed. Max Dupain, Olive Cotton, David Moore. Stars in the history of Australian photography. Elizabeth, this was a very interesting item and a few people were really quite on track. Tell me how it all works.
Okay, this is a 19th century Vietnamese opium pipe. Now, as you can see, it's beautifully inlaid with mother of pearl, silver, and there's a hook for hanging it wherever you like. How does it work? Inside here would be a burner, and then the opium would be sitting on top of here, and you use this little poker to stir around to give you some more of the essence. We also have the pipe section here, but this would be attached here, would be a long, like a leather tube with a mouthpiece, so you could recline
And
on
just-
your...
And so would you hold it there and go...
One could hold it, it could be hanging, it could be on a table. A magnificent piece of artistry from the late 19th century from Vietnam, beautifully inlaid.
How fabulous. Thank you for sharing.
It's my pleasure.
Next time on Antiques Down Under, an Aladdin's cave of toys.
Robots, robots, and more robots. Claudia shows off her collection.
We discover the Gutenberg Bible and Andy Warhol at Douglas Stewart Fine Books.
And Claudia enters the glorious world of Art Deco. Claudia, I've brought you to another one of South Australia's gems.
Gregory, you take me to the best places. We'll see you next time on Antiques Down Under.